have a very heady book in the book club today.
Today's Good Day New York Book Club. Well, let's start. Some consider it America's royal family, the Kennedys. Here, I think we have Robert F. Kennedy, great man, getting married. Wow. Of course, they had many children, including our next guest, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., very prominent environmental lawyer and author, who was recently married to one of our favorite people in the world, Cheryl Hines, star of Curb Your Enthusiasm. It looked like a great wedding. It was well documented. I think we have a picture of the newlyweds.
Beautiful. It looked like a beautiful day.
Oh, very nice indeed. Now, let's get to work for a moment. Then we're going to probably revisit this issue. He's got a new book. It's called Thimerosal, Let the Science Speak. Rosanna, keep going. There's a mouthful here.
It's a big title. Let the Science Speak, the evidence supporting the immediate removal of mercury, a known neurotoxin from vaccines. Now, if you're a parent, you're involved in this controversy going on right now. Robert Kennedy Jr., nice to have you here on Good Day New York. So, obviously, the book is out now, and you know that the critics are gunning for you this morning, right? I mean,
yes.
they've really had a lot of terrible things to say about the book and some of your research.
Well, nobody who's had anything to say about the book has actually read the book.
How do you know that?
Well, because there were 12 reviews of the book that came out before the book was published, and nobody had advanced copies. So they attacked me for what they thought was going to be in the book, which was basically a discussion of autism, which is not part of this book.
Well, tell us, do us a favor, set it up for us. Thimerosal. A lot of our viewers are not familiar with it. What is it?
Okay, thimerosal is a mercury-based preservative that is still in some vaccines. It was removed by order of the FDA from all topical medicines in 1998. For example, Mercurochrome, which we used to have as a kid, it was that kind of orange ointment that would stain your clothes, or Murine eye drops,
yes.
And it had thimerosal in it, and they found out that it was injuring and even killing people. So FDA ordered it removed from over-the-counter medications after doing a lot of studies that demonstrated its toxicity. CDC at the same time was recommending higher and higher doses of vaccines, and there was thimerosal in those vaccines. And we started to see a giant rise in neurological disorders among our children.
Like autism?
Well, ADD, we don't discuss autism because it's such a radioactive issue. So we just looked at the other neurological disorders, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, misery index, things that we didn't know as a kid, but this generation, it's part of who they are.
I got to go run this by from Time Magazine, the editor-at-large here. The problem is, Kennedy, he's wrong, utterly wrong. So wrong, it's hard to even know what the biggest piece of that wrongness is. He says, as the levels of thimerosal have decreased, we've seen this autism increase. So the cause and effect are not there. Thimerosal is going away.
Again, he's wrong. Virtually every factual statement he makes in there is wrong. And as I said, he didn't have the benefit of reading my book or even having a copy of the book before he wrote that piece. But he's wrong on all of his science. First of all, the levels of thimerosal are essentially equal to what they were in before they removed it from pediatric vaccines. And here's why. It was removed from pediatric vaccines in 2003, but that same year, CDC recommended the flu vaccine for all Americans, and the flu vaccine contained very, very high levels of thimerosal. So that a child who took all the flu vaccines as they were supposed to would get essentially 187 micrograms of thimerosal by the time they were 7, compared to about 200 prior to that. But the problem is that now it's being given to pregnant women. So for the first time in history, fetuses in their most vulnerable stage of development are being exposed to these bolus doses of thimerosal. In fact, a fetus can get, if a pregnant woman takes one of these shots, about 800 times the amount of mercury that EPA recommends for an adult.
So what are you suggesting? Women don't take these vaccines
I am fiercely pro-vaccine. I want to see, I've had all 6 of my children vaccinated. I want to see everybody be taking their vaccines. We need full coverage. People don't take them because they no longer believe in CDC, because they can see this science. And what we did is we spent We spent 3 years looking at every peer-reviewed scientific publication ever written on thimerosal. We found over 500 peer-reviewed publications. All of them say it is the most potent neurotoxin that is not radioactive. Why would we? It's 30 times as neurotoxic as lead. Why would we put that in a child or a pregnant woman if we didn't have to? And we've already been shown by its removal from the pediatric vaccines that we have good alternatives. We don't need it anymore.
Is the FDA listening to you?
Well, it's really CDC, and CDC is not. And that's why we published this book. We sat on this book for a year and talked with the regulators, sent it to the regulators, and said, we don't want to release this book because we don't want to diminish public faith in vaccines. We want full coverage. And this book is going to, scare people.
The debate continues, and again, back to that Time Magazine piece, and Time Magazine's not some, obscure blog. He says, when it comes to vaccines, Kennedy clangs to the same Looney Tune bells. I mean, the reception has been harsh, but then again,
But
it's kind of right, yeah. And it's kind of unfair that somebody is writing a review of a book that they haven't read.
They can make it through it pretty fast. I mean, it's 170 pages, lots of footnotes, so we encourage him if he hasn't.
Let me just say one thing. This is not just a health crisis. It's a journalistic crisis. Journalists have to stop taking the word of a captive agency with a vested interest in thimerosal and instead look at the science. And that's what we've said. Show me a single scientific publication that says that thimerosal is safe, and I will walk away from this issue. But I couldn't find one, and we had the best science researchers in America looking for this for 3 years. We couldn't find a single publication to support CDC's statements.
Rosanna and I, we took science in class. We took science in school.
I was not very good. I'm just going to tell you, I was not very good in
Bunsen
science.
burners and beakers, that's about as far as we got.
But I was very good in gossip.
Okay.
Okay, so how was the honeymoon? Did you have a nice time?
Honeymoon was a fairy tale. It was like riding a unicorn down a rainbow.
It really was?
Yes, it was.
Where'd you go?
We went to Capri.
Wow.
Positano and to Naples.
Was de Blasio there when you were there?
He was.
No
he
kidding.
was eating pizza, but he was eating it with 2 hands by the time we got there.
How's Cheryl? Is she living in this part, or is she going back to California?
She goes back and forth, but mainly in California.
Well, we love her.
Yeah, I love her too.
Do you know if they're going to have a Curb Your Enthusiasm reunion? Do you know anything about this?
Well, we're hoping Larry will write another season, but he doesn't know, and nobody knows.
Yeah, he holds
I thought maybe some pillow talk. You might have some information.
Pillow talk. All right, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., one more time. The book is out there. It's Making Waves, Thimerosal. Take it, Rosanna.
Let the science speak, the evidence supporting the immediate removal of mercury, a known neurotoxin, from vaccines.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Remember, people should get their vaccines, but they should ask about when they go in to get their flu vaccines. They should say, I want a thimerosal-free vaccine, because those do exist.
There are options.
Yes.
Good to know.